Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's time to make some more easy Indian vegetarian stuff. I have chosen a great kind of light summery meal for you, and it is a recipe from Bihar. So this book is full of vegetarian recipes that are very easy to make. And in the snack section, the first section is the snack section, there is tomato chaat, which is tomato ki chaat, and this particular recipe is inspired from a recipe that comes from Bihar, which is a state in India. It's super simple to make and it's so lively and summery and delicious. So I'm not going to waste any more time and I'm going to start cooking. Before that, you know what to do. Hit the bell button, subscribe, and let's get cooking. The very first thing I need to do is boil some potatoes. I need 2 potatoes for this, and as always I'm going to use the red potatoes because they are just all great all-rounder. They grow locally and they taste delicious. So these are like 2 medium-sized potatoes. I am going to peel them and then cook them until they're nice and soft. If you chop them into smaller pieces, it should not take very long. Now this size potato, I'm going to bring it to a boil and it should not take longer than 7 to 8 minutes. So the potatoes are on the hob. This also happens to be a 30-minute recipe. If you're going to multitask, like the potatoes are boiling, in that time I'm going to prepare the tomatoes, and while that's also cooking I'm going to quickly make the chutney. It all comes together really quickly. So it's a win-win situation. So for the second part of the recipe, which is while the potatoes are cooking, I'm going to get like a good piece of ginger, an inch roughly, and just gonna chop it into small, like just finely chop it. You can also grate it if you don't want to chop the ginger. Next, I have got 8 tomatoes and I'm just gonna give it a wash and roughly chop these as well. At the moment, it's tomato season and I can really smell the tomatoes, which obviously doesn't happen all year round. I'm also going to chop up a handful or roughly 50 grams of cashew nuts. I'm just going to roughly chop this up. So I'm going to start with 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. You could use sunflower, rapeseed, and I'm just going to let this get hot. And once it's hot, I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin seeds, some ginger, oh, it smells so good. Just going to chop this cashew nut up. You can also add heat to your taste. So I'm just going to use 1 chili and just going to slit open and add it in. Next goes in the cashew nuts. Just give it a minute. Now it's turn for the spices. A teaspoon of turmeric, teaspoon of chili or to taste, teaspoon of garam masala, teaspoon of ground coriander, teaspoon of amchur or mango powder, and teaspoon of ground cumin, and just half a teaspoon of black salt. Now goes in the tomatoes. So I'm going to let this cook on medium heat for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to wait till they like begin to soften. Right now they are just kind of holds its shape. I'm just going to wait till it begins to soften and then move to the next step. Give it 5 minutes. So it's been 5 minutes. It's released some of the moisture from the tomatoes. What I am going to do is going to add 200 ml of boiling water to this. And now I want these to become really mushy. So I'm going to cover and cook this for 10 minutes. So the potatoes are cooked and done, and the tomatoes are covered and cooking nicely for 10 minutes. In that time, I'm going to quickly prepare this delicious chutney, which is also a recipe in the book. But while it's cooking, I can make the use of the time and prepare this very quick, refreshing, delicious chutney, which actually is a great chutney for all year round. In goes 85 grams of coriander leaves, which I've washed. To this, I'm going to add just a little bit of freshness with 10 grams of mint leaves. Just the leaves, not the stalks. Next, I add just half an inch piece of ginger. Next, a couple of lovely green chilies. Half a teaspoon of black salt. You can use normal salt if you don't have this. Half a teaspoon of sugar. This is not going to make it sweet. It's just going to balance the flavors. Half a teaspoon of ground cumin. Next, juice of half a lime. If it's not enough juice coming out, then 1 lime. And a couple of ice cubes to help retain the color of this lovely chutney instead of adding water. Now blitz. Okay, time has gone off. Let's see what this is doing. Oh, gorgeous. Right, I am just going to drain the potatoes while this is just bubbling away. So that's the boiled potatoes. They are hot, but if you can mash them before you add it to the tomatoes. Ooh, they're hot. I don't want mashed potatoes. I just want the boiled potatoes to be mashed so that they can drink up all the flavors of the sauce here. Give it a good mix. And I'm just going to chop up a little bit of coriander. Okay, now everything has heated through the potatoes, and now I'm going to turn the heat off and add a couple more things. So because there's so many tomatoes in here, I need a half a teaspoon of sugar to balance it out, and half a teaspoon of normal salt because we've added black salt, not the normal salt. If you don't have black salt, you can just use 1 teaspoon of normal salt instead of half and half. Just it has a different flavor and that's it. Oh, let me add a little bit of coriander. Next, the chutney. And the final thing is some Bombay mix or some save. So here is tomato chaat from the book. And here is what we have just cooked. Absolutely gorgeous. Time to taste it. What I loved doing this book was that the recipes I was developing, trying, were not from my background or something that my mom cooked. A few of them were, but a lot of them were completely new to me, like this Bihari tomato chaat. It's got, obviously, my mouth is watering. I love chaat of any shape and form. There is a bit of substance with the potatoes. There is crunch from the Bombay mix, the heat and freshness from the chutney. It's so fresh, and you can have it warm if it's cold where you are. If it's hot where you are, you can cook this whole thing, let it cool down and put it together, have it as a cold meal. This is absolutely delicious. Hope you will try this recipe. It's from Easy Indian Vegetarian. I'll leave the link to the book in the description. Come back soon and I'll see you for another new recipe. Bye for now.